coming to tell. He's making a list, he's checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows if you're awake. He knows if you're bad or good. You better be good for goodness sake.
We're all back to reality. No Christmas fun backgrounds.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking we got to get this virtual background going again.
Yeah. Are we back to live?
I don't know.
Rad says yes. Dan says
All right.
yes. Cool.
Mic check.
Congrats.
Mic check.
All right, so Connor is the only one that made it over with his background. I guess
Show you guys.
Yeah.
this is a very on-theme start for us here. Sometimes in the holiday season, stuff does not go as planned, and you got to be ready with a backup plan and go with the flow. So hello to everybody. I think maybe let's restart this. Hossam, if you want to do SparkNotes speed version,
Yep.
your intro, and then Lisa, you can retake it, and then Connor, the floor is yours.
Cool. So in 2 seconds, my background is in customer support. Was a support manager, moved to support operations. Now I'm director of strategy at a BPO called Partner Hero. And what we focus on is deploying outsourced customer support teams, but we also do managed help desk where we can manage your Zendesk environment or your Gorgeous environment. And coincidentally, we just partnered with Lisa's company, Siena, to do managed bots as well. So I will pass it on to Lisa.
Thanks, Hossam. Okay, super quickly, I am Lisa, one of the co-founders at Siena, also CMO. We are building the world's first autonomous customer service platform designed for commerce that is also very empathic. And you can think of us as, another agent that joins your team, trying to give your existing team superpowers. And previously, so I have a background of 8 years in e-commerce. I started my journey as a Shopify merchant and then started building software. And we're still sharing the fun facts. I do want to buy myself a vacation this holiday, if possible. So yeah. Next to giving the mic.
Take the mic over. Thank you for that, Lisa. So super nice to meet everybody. My name is Connor. I am currently a team leader with over 3 years of experience in care at SSENSE, which is an e-commerce luxury retailer. I started, in terms of my background, I started as a customer support agent. So, from the ground floor up as an agent, fielding phone calls, emails, and chats. From that, I managed to level up to becoming a senior agent. So this is where I assumed the, quote unquote supervisor role, taking those challenging escalation calls and using my experience and knowledge to uplift those with less experience. Again, from there, I've took the next plunge into being a team leader. So directly leading and coaching a team of agents on their path to success. And just this past spring, I was promoted once more. So I'm now currently the team lead of operations. So directly coordinating our operations, managing key reporting data, taking business information to identify process improvements, and still, achieving people leadership through managing a team of senior coordinators. When we look at what I do outside of core business hours, a fun fact about myself is I am a devoted modular synth nerd, which essentially just means I love spending a lot of money on something that does a very limited function. One of the things that I would love to buy this holiday season is there's a company called Noise Engineering. So this is very, very niche content here, but they have a drum module called the Basimus Iteratus Alter. It makes the most incredible that sort of boom pounding drum kick sound. So I would love to add to one of those. And they're recently noted that this is actually a line that they're going to be discontinuing. So this is one thing that I have on my eyes this holiday season.
Awesome. And for those that don't know me, I am Brian, founder and CEO of Flip. We do voice AI to automate phone support for commerce and transportation brands. So we are a little bit behind schedule. Let's kick this thing off, get the wheels going in high gear a little bit. Let's go around rapid fire. All three of you have been through a number of peak seasons before, all from different vantage points. There's a lot of conventional wisdom around how to succeed in this period of time. What is one example of sort of classic wisdom that you consider timeless and one that you still hear that you think has expired?
I'll let the e-commerce folks start.
Yeah. Amazing. So, I mean, on my end, I think entering peak season, we all come into this with optimistic intentions. You want your team to be performing at the best that it possibly can. You want to learn from past mistakes and use those errors to develop the strongest performance possible. I think sometimes team members will indicate they hear a note of sarcasm in my breath when I say phrases like, maybe we'll get it right this year. But I think that there's a sense of truthfulness to that statement as well. But that being said, I mean, jokes aside, I think it's important to take, those experiences, those worst case scenario events that have happened in years past and really trying to learn to develop stronger for them. One of the key ones, and I think this is really universal, but as a strategy, really making sure as a manager, as a leader, that you take employee well-being and motivation into impact. One thing that I found to always really resonate with team members and really have a strong impact is noting that motivated, well-supported teams are going to be the most likely to collaborate effectively, share knowledge, and support each other. So as a leader, I've done everything from, daily huddles, bring everybody into a meet and, shoot out positive affirmations to try and keep those spirits up. Using daily leaderboard systems. So pulling your core KPIs each day, shout out who's on target, shout out who's just short of that target, see if you can use that as a little fire to motivate people just to reach that next level. And, lastly, and I think this is something that's key, this is something that, although my job description and duties have evolved from taking those live interactions, when we're in the thick of it and the call queues are up, the chat queues are up, I make it clear to the team that no one's above, jumping on the phone lines and taking a call or taking an escalation. So it's something that I try and inspire the other leaders to do as well, is take an hour, hop on the phone lines, and let's really all go into this together.
Awesome. Sorry, Brian, could you just repeat the two things you want to highlight?
So classic wisdom, one example of something that's timeless and another that is sort of still said, but in your mind is
expired.
Okay, cool. Lisa, I guess you could go ahead.
Yeah, so my first advice that I feel like it's timeless is having a human first approach. So obviously I love AI, I love technology, but like regardless of how much tech you are implementing or integrating, you have to remember that at the end of the day, it's like just serving people and being there for people. And that will build trust, show empathy, and actively showing that you're listening to them. And those, I feel like being human first will be one of the biggest pillars always. And then when it comes to an expired tactic, on the total opposite side, it's obviously over reliance on manual systems. So I understand that up until like this year, maybe that could have worked, but I feel like now generative AI gives us such a huge opportunity to like really take our CX to the next level and, just working with old-fashioned like ways or old-fashioned databases or ticketing system, just like drowning in tickets and being super like burned out. That's just not an option anymore. So I believe, yeah, that's definitely expired. And yeah, clinging to those old systems is pretty much detrimental for businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree on there, especially with everything happening in AI and like chatbot world now, post chat GPT explosion. But I'm thinking about like, so I was never in e-commerce. I had a background specifically in ISPs, like internet providers. We provided internet for businesses in Manhattan, right? So super important service. So our peak season could happen at any given moment because when there's an internet outage, like fiber breaks underground, that's your peak season, right? And we didn't really have any indicators of when this would happen. It was just like an incident that would happen, similar to like outages in an app for a SaaS company. So when we always had to be prepared, always had to be on our toes. So I think a timeless one is just having a plan in advance, being prepared regardless of when your peak season happens. If it's e-commerce, it's going to be during the holidays and a little bit after the holidays. For SaaS companies and service providers, it could happen at any moment when there's an outage in your service. So timeless is always be prepared, have a plan set in place in case something breaks or isn't working properly. And we did a great job with that today because we were able to move from Zoom to this other platform perfectly fine. And then the one that's probably expired is, kind of the opposite of that, just not being prepared, thinking everything is just going to work itself out, right? So I work a lot with companies within their help desk environment, and they're like, you know what, we don't need to build automation. We don't need to, set up these macros. When the time comes, we'll just put those auto responses, right? Like an agent will write the auto response when they need to, and they'll save it, and then the rest of the team could use it, right? But they don't do that in advance. They do that in real time and expect to be like, okay, outage is happening now. Can somebody write an outage notification message and start sending it, right? It wasn't prepared. So the expired one is thinking that you could do things in real time and you just can't anymore.
Awesome. Okay, now we're gonna, so we've got a couple of slides of some data, quotes, even clips that are very present and relevant to CX over the holidays. We're going to start off here with something a little bit controversial. I would say we don't need to go in a particular order to all three of you, and I will hop in as well. When thoughts come to you, just grab that mic and go. So Reid Hoffman is the founder and CEO, or not CEO anymore, founder of LinkedIn way back in the day, author of Blitzscaling, which is widely regarded as one of the Bibles of startup growth. And in the book and in this tweet, he takes an attack straight at customer service. So when the three of you read this quote, what are the thoughts and emotions that come to you?
Connor, Lisa, I hope you don't mind if I just jump in here because this is like top of mind for us at Partner Hero right now. We were just having a conversation about this. So we've seen in the past that companies would use sales-led growth, meaning your sales team just goes out and grows your company, product-led growth, right, which is, we still see a lot of it today, and that's completely fine. I think it's a great strategy, which is build an amazing product and your company will grow that way. But what we're seeing a trend, we're seeing a new trend where companies are relying on customer-led growth, right? So making sure that you're putting the customer number one from day one and expecting your company to grow that way. And we're really leaning into that because we believe that if you take care of the customer from day one, your company will organically grow, right? Yes, you could have an amazing product. Yes, you could have an amazing sales team. But if your customer isn't heard and you're ignoring them like this tweet says, you're going to miss, there's going to be some gaps in certain places. So, I obviously disagree with this message, and I'm actually surprised to see it, especially for somebody that was building a social media platform. But yeah, I think I'm on the complete opposite side of the spectrum of like, yeah, start caring about your customer from day one, your first customer, regardless of how much they're paying you, regardless of what their complaint is. You're going to learn a ton from that customer.
Yeah, I think this like seems very controversial, especially coming from Reid Hoffman. But I do feel like he's referring to the customer being always right, not necessarily putting the customer first, or, customer is king. So what I do love is Jeff Bezos' perspective. He always says that you should start with the customer and work backwards. I just love his books, his shareholder letters. I've been following a lot like Amazon's journey and trying to learn from that. Basically, it's just this philosophy is ingrained in their entire company culture. Even if the customer is not always right, they cannot always be right because they are not the ones building the business. You are the one with the vision, with the roadmap and the insights. They just want you to solve their own little problems that they are individual to them. But I do believe that even if the customer is not right, you should always treat them as king, as put them first and try to always be there. And yeah, I just feel like every single company should be customer focused. And as Hossam said, I love the fact that now companies are having this approach of growing through their customer base, because as long as your customers are happy, your business will keep growing without you having to put any sales and marketing. And that's like been proven at Siena in the last 8 months. Like we've done zero sales and marketing. It's just like we've been super focused on our customers and building the best product for them.
Amazing. So, I mean, for myself, to kind of hop into the echo chamber a little bit here, but again, I think I agree. I think this rule that you could ignore your customers could maybe apply if you have, such an incredible product that customers are going to continue to come back to you no matter what that experience is. But I have difficulty imagining what kind of company would have that product unless maybe, you're a deli that serves like an incredible smoked meat sandwich, and you can give your customers this like, what do you want type of service, But for anybody else, and I think especially with the current state of our global economy, companies are going to really have to focus and drill into their customer to have success. If I'm going to pull some numbers, was reviewing the McKinsey Consumer Pulse survey, and interesting details. One is that 74% of consumers are trading down when shopping. So by that, it means that they're changing the pack or quantity size of their usual purchase, switching retailers in search of lower prices. So I think especially now more than ever, as consumers may be worried about rising prices, about job security, it's important that companies find ways to retain those customers, especially the ones that are willing to splurge on certain goods and services. So for that reason, I really think it's important for CX teams to do the opposite of this, but instead find pockets of optimism with your customers, especially for those customers that want to, spend whatever amount of discretionary spending they have with you, to really personalize those experiences, to inspire purchases, and really define what value means to those consumers who may be continuing to trade down.
Yeah, it's interesting to pin growth against customer service as if they're like oppositional and there's a trade-off there, which ties to a common issue that support teams face around how are they going to show their value up into the most important metrics at the company, right? How can you tie good customer service up to revenue growth or other specific things that the customer service team is doing and show that they're influencing what might be sort of like the C-suite core growth metrics of the business. So I'm curious, as the next question, piggybacking on that, what are, in your mind, the most important metrics that a CS team should be, CS, CX, kind of lumping together? What are the most important metrics that they should be looking at right now? How have those evolved? And does it change during the holiday season? Or is it really just stick to the fundamentals?
I think it depends. It depends on the companies that have embraced automation versus the company that are, just pure human focused, or just they have just a human strategy so far. What we're seeing is that I was even like today I was chatting with a brand, and they have like 600,000 tickets per month, which is insane. And they are just like all human driven in their CS operations. And they were telling me like, okay, like it's time, we're ready. My agents are getting burned out, and I really want to help them. I do not want to reduce the team or restructure. I just want to make sure they are hitting their KPIs, because now they just cannot hit their KPIs. So obviously KPIs, first response time, resolution time, CSAT scores, all of those things that one touch resolution, right? And retention rates like LTV, AOV, and all of that. But after you're transitioning to having like this hybrid model, you're also looking, okay, what's our automation rate? Something that we're also tracking at Siena is the alignment rate. So this is something that we've recently introduced. So because we're not here just to automate for the sake of automation, we're here to automate with a high performance. So we're looking at how relevant and how accurate are actually the automated responses, because we actually want to solve customers' problem, not just deflect tickets, right? We don't want to overload the agents. So I feel like automation rate, alignment rate, handoff rate, right? How many times does an AI system, pass it on to the agent, versus how many times can the AI system actually resolute a ticket? So I think these are some of the metrics that are starting to be adopted and looked at with embracing AI.
Assam, Connor?
Yeah, I was waiting for Connor. I thought he was going to jump in there. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been on the side of tracking metrics for customer support teams recently, especially at Partner Hero. I know for BPOs a little bit different. So they are tracking like traditional metrics, right? What our customers want to track. So customer satisfaction, average handle time, right? Because when you're outsourcing your support, those numbers are important to you. But I want to so I really don't have an opinion on the, what metrics should be available, but I do want to drop a gem that Craig Stoss on my team dropped the other day that I think is important for everybody to just think about. And he's not a huge fan of average handle time, because he mentioned that the problem doesn't start for the customer when they submit the ticket. It starts way before that. And by the time they submit a ticket, it could have been hours, days, weeks, right? So you can't really say like, oh, the customer's only had a problem for 13 minutes. We answered it and resolved it. So I think what I'm trying to say here is like, these metrics are definitely going to evolve in the next couple of years because I think we've historically been tracking the wrong things because of the limitations on software and tools. And to Lisa's point, like because of automation and all of the new technologies coming out, there's going to be new metrics that we've never been tracking before, like automation rate, right? Like bot response rate or bot resolution rate. So I think it's going to be forever evolving thing, and it's going to depend on the team. So that's something that we're really focused on now on our operations side, because there isn't really standardization across the industry, I would say.
Amazing. Yeah, and I mean, to piggyback that on my end, I think, I'm not going to come here and reinvent the wheel with any, new KPIs that our team is focusing on. I think really what's being said are sort of what we hear and what we discuss and focus on: productivity, CSAT, one touch resolution, average handling time. I think in terms of metrics that, change and evolve during the holiday season, I think a really big one to keep track of and to really drill into for your team is the resolution time. So how long is it taking from interactions opening up to then close, as your backlogs get larger and as agents maybe take on more work than they can handle and process? I think it's really important to think about that A to Z interaction that the customers do have for the ones that do speak through and do connect through to you. So my call out would be really just tracking the resolution days and see how that fluctuates as you start to enter peak season, and use that as a gauge and a filter for your teams to, really take a pause and a beat and make sure that we're really, we may not be able to clear every backlog. There may be, chats that are waiting, there may be calls waiting, but making sure that we prioritize and take the time to drive support and work with the clients that we do have prevents, future issues or new tickets or interactions from coming for the team.
Yeah. I'd say that we've seen really over the course of this year, some of our most, I'd say, like trailblazing and risky customers start to latch on to some of those like executive company level metrics that they're seeing in their data that they think they can influence. The three that we've been coming across most frequently are: number one, directly attributable sales. It's always been surprising for us to see, basically after, and I'm talking in the e-commerce sphere right now, basically after your classic famous Wizmo, new purchase and like issues purchasing on the site, or like questions in the purchasing on the site, is by far the second most common conversation topic. And if you can identify those conversations and then staff appropriately against those being legitimate sales opportunities and then be able to report upwards, then suddenly you are tying yourself directly to the most important metric. So I think there's more of a sales opportunity than people realize. The second one that I would call out is saves. So these are situations where there is some negative business outcome that the customer is trying to initiate. Think of canceling an order, canceling a subscription, initiating a return. All of these are money losing events for the company. And being able to have a strategy and then track performance against, hey, this many people reached out to cancel their subscription, and we were able to convince whatever percent of them to go down one of these three avenues instead. Maybe it's skipping their next order. Maybe it's downsizing. Maybe it's changing the product blend that they're using. But that saves as a metric that is then going to roll up into your like returns and retention and those core business metrics for the brand. And then the third one that we see is marketing activations. So these would be, right, and they vary a little bit from one brand to another, but maybe your company is very big on SMS marketing, and it's always a priority to drive more and more SMS subscribers. Or maybe you guys are big on an app, or you guys have an app and there's all sorts of drops that happen in there and extended policies and all of these things. If you understand sort of what those key marketing channels and levers are that your brand is pushing, then you can work backwards into the conversations that are happening inside customer service with your agents and your customers. And you can say, hey, when somebody's reaching out about this thing, it actually ties to a benefit or a perk that we offer in this specific marketing channel. And then in that moment, you can propose that the customer take that step because it will, one, more effectively solve their problem, and two, it will register as another customer that has taken that step. So I think that it's interesting, like the classics that you guys all hit on, right? CSAT, handle time, right? It's how quickly and how cost efficiently can we service the customers. That is that's the bread and butter. That's the foundation. And I agree on these automation metrics starting to enter the fold, because there's that just fundamental relationship where, like, if there's fewer tickets, if there's fewer calls for the agents, then all of those performance metrics are going to improve. But it's really fascinating to see customers reaching for these next things. And then as we're sort of building a product to serve them, build into those use cases and be able to report on those things as well.
Ryan, can I add something to that? Like the metrics that you talk about, like the ones that are directly tied to revenue or churn or so on and so forth, anything that's tied to money. I think about like the classic LinkedIn meme where on one part of the meme, it's like marketing 87 touches, right? Like the customer interacted 87 times, and then like one salesperson interacts one time with the customer, closes it, and that's attributed to a salesperson, right? So I think customer support doesn't always get the credit that that they deserve for driving revenue, because it's so hard to track the touches that they've had with the customer up until purchase, the same way that marketing has a hard time tracking their contributions to a sale, especially if a salesperson closes it. So I'm really interested to see how those metrics start to get, and I think we go with the classic metrics, right? Because we don't have a way of tracking those touches today. And a new customer might come to you specifically for your customer support reviews on a review website, and you have no idea that they purchased because of those reviews, right? And that's attributed to either marketing or sales. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this goes.
All right, we ready for the next one? Okay, so let's talk about preparing for the holidays, right? Hossam, you hit on this at the top. What we're looking at here on the screen is basically the year over year total retail and commerce sales. And then on the right, you're basically seeing the difference between what was forecasted ahead of the holiday season and then what the actual was in terms of the growth rate that year. And the call out for me here, and I've noticed this anecdotally and now also in the data, is that especially over the last couple of years, it's been all over the place. It's been volatile and it's been challenging to predict exactly what the sales are going to be, which then produces downstream the uncertainty from a customer support standpoint heading into the holidays. So what are your guys' tips around planning and planning ahead? Starting early is definitely one piece, but then also under this umbrella of uncertainty around what the volume is really going to be and how things are going to go, how does that play into it?
I could drop my shameless plug right now and say, have a BPO on speed dial, right? And jokes aside, right? You should have a backup plan. You don't need to fully staff thinking that you're going to grow, 20% year over year. But just make sure that if you do, you've already trained a team that's part-time, contractors, freelancers, engaged with the BPO, and have that backup plan in case you do. You could pick up the phone and say, hey, we need 5 agents, we need 10 agents. We're seeing something that we didn't expect, right? And I think that's where, a BPO or just having part-timers really comes in handy. Yeah, and if you're looking for one, Partner Hero might be the way to go.
One quick addition before going to the next sort of area. I love the use case of AI with BPO, where the AI enables agent specialization. So if you can imagine, right, when an AI is having a conversation with a customer, the first thing that it needs to do is figure out, right, who is this customer and what are they calling about? And if it is able to use that data to then funnel conversations into different agent queues, then you can start to specialize agents to deal with certain types of customers having certain types of issues. And when you look at, hey, we need to, in an emergency, bring on a BPO, and we've got Partner Hero on speed dial and they're ready to go and they can onboard quickly. Well, guess what? They will be able to onboard even more quickly, and it will be even less sort of risk to your core brand and your most important customers if you're able to be very specific in the volume that you're giving to them. So it's one of those sort of more nuanced, really good joint use cases of AI with your human agents.
Yeah, and onboarding is, relatively quick without AI, right? But it's not like, again, you have to plan for this months in advance. Now with AI, you could shorten that months in advance to weeks in advance, right? Because you have great tools out there that include Agent Assist, and they're pulling articles for these outsourced team to look at and say like, hey, this is the suggested response. All you need to do is send this response and then, push a refund. So I'm 100% on board for the human and AI, but yeah, just agree with that, Brian.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah, I
maybe
feel like
you go first, Lisa.
Now we got to a good topic. Everybody's jumping in.
yeah, just piggybacking on what Hossam said, it's important to have like a smart routing system, agent assist tools that just ensure super fast resolutions, much more personalized responses, less backlogs. And one other thing that I feel like it's super important that reduces that overload is having an omni-channel strategy, so enabling multiple channels. And now with, Gen AI, you pretty much can have like AI agents deployed across your preferred channels without necessarily having to hire specific people just for, Instagram DMs. So this, like having, an omni-channel strategy will just reduce the traditional silos often seen during peak seasons. So I feel like that's super important.
Definitely. And as well, to hop in, I think, Brian, you mentioned a thing about having, really focusing on triaging different levels of support. And I think I can attest to at Essence that this is something that we are doing now, but we haven't done in the past. And I can, really attribute to how this can help when ramping up teams, especially if these are, part-time or contractual agents, to make sure that they're ready for your peak season. When I first started, so when I was an agent with this company, we did have, again, that sort of traditional, frontline agent, and then someone who is a supervisor, someone who works on escalations. But oftentimes it led until the customer reached that friction point for a certain issue or challenge that they got bumped up to those more senior team members. One thing that we've re-strategized is setting certain thresholds for various use case scenarios. So if the use case meets, maybe a certain client base or a certain order value, that agent can bump that up to somebody who has more experience, who's been on your team for a few years, who might be able to solve that issue in one touch, versus somebody who maybe is new to the team, has more limited knowledge and access, and maybe this is an issue that would take multiple days to solve. So finding ways to sort of see what's going to be too difficult, where are you seeing friction drivers within certain use cases, and finding ways to get those tickets or interactions or calls, whatever they may be, to the team members that can, slam them down.
And Connor, we're basically 3 months from Black Friday. Where would you say you guys are at Essence in terms of like are you 50% through your holiday preparation? Are you 20% through your holiday preparation? Like, how far along are you all at this point, 90 days out?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's kind of funny because actually today is actually the last day of our summer sale. So in many cases, my mindset has been on finishing our summer sale period. And I thought, this is going to be a great conversation to shift that mindset. From the conversations that I've had with other team members, I think we are, getting a lot stronger at understanding, what are the forecasted volumes that we're working to receive, and making sure that our teams are able to scale. So I feel like if I had to put a percentage number on it, yeah, I feel like we're like 75% of the way there. There's lots of processes and systems that we are looking to become more efficient on. And I think, when it comes to just having, onboarding new team members and having extra bodies on the floor, that seems like with this stage of our preparation, that's going to be actually one of the easiest things to implement.
And then the last question I would ask from a preparation standpoint is to all of you, how much of it is team oriented versus tech oriented?
I think it's 50-50, to be honest. If you don't put in the work, or you're not like really taking responsibility over the technology that you're implementing, you might end up with like, I don't know, not the ideal results as fast as you want them to, right? So it's all about, really treating it as a project, which you can work in milestones. You can set, goals. For example, we work with our customers in milestones. So for example, by end of the first 30 days, we want to reach a percentage in automation rate. We want to, take care of the lowest hanging fruit, maybe, take care of the subscription questions, related questions. So I feel like it's definitely half, at least in the beginning, because then the technology can definitely take over more of the responsibilities.
I have just a question so I could better answer this. I have a question for Connor and maybe Lisa, but for your teams, when it's like for your agents during non-peak season, what's their capacity look like? Are they like at 80%, and then when peak season comes around, they're at 100% and maybe sometimes 110%? Or do you try to keep those agents at 80% all year round and maybe like bring on more agents during the peak season to handle that overload?
Yeah, that's a great, excellent question. For us, again, we really do fluctuate with the sales season. So the spring, summer sale, things really start to peak up. And I would say that once we sort of get into, mid-July, the team, I think, is starting to really start to push on that 100% threshold.
Right.
When we have periods or off sales, so once we get into, our late September, Octobers, before we bump in, the peak may come down a little bit. We'll maybe get closer, to like a 75%, maybe some points like right before Black Friday. There might be that 50%, where I say, okay, let's take advantage and indulge in these moments while we still can.
Gotcha.
But I think it definitely does fluctuate.
Yeah. With that answer, then I could say I would agree with Lisa 50-50, right? Because there is preparation, getting the team ready and saying like, okay, get ready to work at your 100%, right? Like we've been at 50, we've been at 75, we've been at 80. So there is some preparation. If there wasn't that preparation, I would say, more on the tool side. And then, definitely getting your help desk in a good place, making sure you have the, like an emergency queue or like a VIP queue that you could route tickets that are super high priority during that peak season. So you're like, okay, these are all regular tickets, the low priority tickets, we could get to those, but these are the ones that we need to answer now. So yeah, preparing your tools, I would say you should put an equal effort into it.
Okay. A lot of AI talk, as would be expected from this panel throughout. Christina in the back, if it's possible for us to click play on one of these clips on the left here, that would be awesome, but also scream or text or do something if that's not the case. Okay, I'm getting the slack that it's not possible. All right, so on the AI topic, and there was a question that came through in the comments that will work in here. Obviously, right, so just making sense of what's on the slide here. So top right is an article written by Mark Andreessen. He was one of the founders of Netscape back in the day and credited with basically the creation of the internet, now of one of the most famous VCs in the world. And he's been very outspoken really starting this year around just how impactful AI is going to be. And then down in the bottom right quadrant there, you're looking at the sorry, just looking at chats. So that's the Google like search trends. So how often are people searching on Google for artificial intelligence? And that is a 5-year time horizon. So I would say that it wasn't at zero. It was certainly something that we noticed. It was a space that we and others on this call were participating in, but we've all felt what's happened and just the amount of mainstream hype that has come with AI in calendar year 2023. So my initial questions on the topic for each of you would be, what do you make of it? Is it worth the hype? Is it ready for prime time and peak season and this sort of most important moment of the year? And then if the answer to all of those questions is yes, how would you approach, in an increasingly noisy vendor landscape, actually evaluating the tools that are out there and getting started? And Hossam, I'm definitely going to be tapping on you for that last one because of the initiatives that you've been working on. But open it to the group. What do you make of everything with AI? Is it worth the hype? Is it ready for prime time? And words of wisdom for diving in. Don't all jump in.
Some thoughts on Mark Andreessen's post, which I really liked a lot. I've actually written a like mini LinkedIn post about it because I was finding it very amusing. I mean, it's like normal, right? Every single time there's something new, we get super scared as humans. Like, oh, we feel like it's like we are super afraid of embracing change. This is obvious. If you look at, historically, every single time there's been something new, we've been pretty skeptical about it. And it's pretty much the same with AI. And, just looking at that article, like that post is like, people are afraid of being left jobless or with less work or less opportunities for getting interesting roles. But I feel like it's not like that, because in customer experience, AI is just going to allow us to engage with customers like never before. So it's not just going to be about quick responses or personalized, round the clock availability, but it's also going to really help people who are working directly on, for example, if we take customer service, those tickets, to work on the strategy, to work on creative roles, to work where they can really make a difference, or maybe pivot. Maybe they've always wanted to do product, not like just stick in the tickets every single day or on Slack providing support to customers. So I'm definitely on the side that AI is not taking jobs. It's actually creating more jobs, as long as you are embracing it and you just have to be open to actually scaling yourself and, embracing the fact that, you cannot stay with your set of skills your entire life. You just need to embrace and learn and grow as the technology does.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like, I think it's going to be a great technology for many different reasons. But I look at it, I want to answer your question of like, are we ready for it? And is it prime time? I think about the launch of AI, or like AI coming to us now. the same way I thought about like when the internet came out, right? Like we weren't ready for the internet. We're still not ready for the internet. And a lot of crazy things happen on the internet, right? And I don't think we're ever going to be ready. Like we just gotta, be responsible with how we treat it and understand its different stages, right? So AI's been around for a while. We saw that graph. It's mature enough to start implementing today in a lightweight fashion. And then there's going to be people that are going to be trailblazers and risk takers, like you mentioned, Brian, that are going to take it to the next level and they want to push it to the limit. And you could do that. And that's how great companies are born. That's how great processes are born, right? And we see that, we saw that when the internet came out, people pushed it to the limits and built all of the businesses that we use today. So yeah, I'm on the side of like, yeah, let's roll with it. Let's do it responsibly, implement it today. If it doesn't work, wait for updates, figure out how it works for your team and just don't be scared of it. The worst thing that you could do is be scared of it and ignore it, right? Like it's not going to go away. So yeah, I think the best way to get started, to answer the second part of the question, is essentially to don't start with the tools, don't start with the technology, start with the problem, right? What are you doing manually 1,000,000 times a day? What is your team suffering with all day long, right? And then go look for tools that solve that problem. When you look at the tools landscape, there's hundreds of tools now, and trust me, because my team had to go through like 40 demos until we picked 2 AI providers, one of them being Siena. So we did the homework for you already, but you're going to drown in demos and you're going to drown in features, and you're just not going to know what works. You're just going to get confused, and you're going to think that the technology isn't right for you at this moment. So start with the problem, then go find the tool. I think that's the best way to start. And start with a specific use case, right? And don't jump into the craziest use case, right? So find something simple, like what do you answer all day long? That's easy. How do I reset my password, right? There's nothing that you need to do on the back end, and you just send them an article, or just send them the 5 steps that they need to reset. That might be 20% of your tickets right there. And you might just be happy with a 20% automation rate. And, then when you're more comfortable, then go ahead and, work on more use cases later down the line. But yeah, start small is my advice. Start small and don't be afraid of it.
Like fitness.
Yeah, to jump on that as well. I really love that idea. I feel like that I'm going to put that on a coffee mug, Hassan, is what is the problem we want to solve, and let's solve that problem. But I know there was a question that was in the chat earlier from Rad asking, at SSENSE, how are we, augmenting AI to help address what our team is already doing? And I think those things, really echo with each other. One of my big advices, and this is the AI that we're using right now is more of a traditional AI tool. So one that uses automation trees and conversation flows. One thing that we found that's really helped us to drive success is to look at that 80-20 rule. So what are the 80% of contacts that are going to be generated by 20% of those specific topics? And one specific example comes to mind. It was a winter sale a few years ago where we had, the backlog of all backlogs. I think there was like about 10,000 new email tickets that we needed to address in our queue. And, we did not have the amount of bodies, hands on the floor to work through that. I think this is where, pressure makes diamonds, and it's important to, think creatively and, kind of throw mud at the wall and see what we'll fix. So one of these ideas that came up in our team discussions was, how many of these tickets are about clients who are looking for an update on when their order will be shipped and their order's already since shipped? So we were able to collaborate with tech. We were able to pull the order numbers to validate their status, pull that information from tickets, and run an automation to follow up and essentially solve these tickets stating, your order's being shipped. If that doesn't fully resolve your inquiry, please reply and we're going to address that. Bring that to a more urgent queue, so these clients who had this experience, we can get back to them right away. And from that experience, we were able to clear out 2K of the ticket. So it didn't solve our full backlog, but it was a lot more effective than having agents work through each of those individually to send that same message that their order had already been shipped.
Connor, was that the day that you took the tree behind you and slammed it on the floor?
Exactly. And then followed suit with it, you know?
Nice.
I certainly agree on starting small. We've always tried to build our product in a way where it was easy for people to get started. And this year we've taken that to even another level with something that we call listen mode, which is basically the AI is not even going to talk to the customer except for asking what the reason is that they're calling, to then be able to provide back to Connor or whoever the CX leader might be that's sitting there and saying, how big is this opportunity? What are the conversations that are good to start with? And what listen mode does is it will classify all of those call topics and then give that data back to them. So there's no cost, there's no disruption of flow, there's no huge investment of time and money, but you're able to get your hands on the data that shows these are my 20% of conversations that are like too easy to not start doing it. And you know, maybe this vendor might be saying we can automate 80%, but in reality, looking at these conversations and knowing how they're handled, I only think that we can do 25, or I only think that we can do 40, and being able to put the data that's necessary to evaluate the opportunity into the hands of the people that are doing the evaluation is a great way for everybody who's seeing sort of all the hype going around to be able to take a small dip without making a full leap.
That's cool. I like that feature. It's like voice tagging, right? It's like essentially tagging tickets through AI on the call without manual work. Love that.
Exactly. Alrighty. We are definitely past time right now. I'd say one last round robin around the horn. I'm also keeping my eye on the comments if anybody wants to chime in with anything. But for each of you, any parting wisdom, last words, if you have them. Otherwise, where can people find you, learn more, follow along? Anything big upcoming that you want to share with the group? Any final remarks?
For me, last piece of wisdom is that embrace AI to have more time for your mental health. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter at Lisa Popovich, or Siena.CX if you're interested in what we're doing. And thank you. This was super fun, especially the beginning, and hope to do this again.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I think the wisdom I could share is, yeah, if you're stuck, go find somebody that's doing it well, and don't, and DM them, or, reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm just completely lost. Most likely, if they're in customer support, they're going to be willing to help you, right? So somebody like a Connor, somebody like myself, somebody like Lisa, right? Just bump us and say, I'm lost. Just guide me, right? Instead of ignoring the new technologies. So yeah, we're all learning together. There's no AI experts right now in the world, right? Like, there's some people that know more than others, but it's brand new. So just frame it as like we're all learning together, and it's okay to bump other people to find out how to get a hold of things. And yeah, find me on LinkedIn through Partner Hero's website, just partnerhero.com. If you book a call specifically on the managed help desk or the managed bots, you'll get booked directly with me. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to be here with everybody, and I hope to do it again soon.
Amazing. Yeah, again, it's been such a pleasure to be here with you guys and to speak and share some wisdom and learn a lot too through that process. If there's parting words, I mean, listen, you can plan, you can prepare, you can think that you've got, the best case scenario strategy happening, and sometimes your best case scenario can fold into your worst case scenario strategy. Speaking from personal experience. But what I would state is that, you know, when you're in those busy periods, when, you know, things aren't going as planned, when, you know, when it rains, it pours, and, you know, you throw that Christmas tree onto the street in a fit of rage. Really, I think it's important to take those opportunities to really think creatively. Again, pressure makes diamonds. What are, you know, the wildest ideas that we can throw out there? You know, just doing the same strategy of having agents work on the assigned queues, maybe that's not going to cut it. So I would say don't hesitate to think creatively, do something unconventional. The worst thing is that it couldn't work and you go back to the drawing board. If you want to stay continued, if you have any other e-commerce related questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and my DMs are also open if you're having any delivery order issues this winter season.
And do your holiday.
I'm the fast lane, yeah. I'm the chatbot fast lane if you go direct.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing your time and your wisdom. Thank you to everybody that joined us today. If you want to follow along with Flip, definitely find us on LinkedIn. We've got events going on pretty regularly. We've got a big event going on right now, the Back to the Customer Awards. There's 3 weeks left to nominate the very best of the best in CX. So get in there, choose your favorite CXer that's gotten you out of those pickle situations before, and give them a nomination. And we will see you all next time.
See you. Thank you
Later,
for
y'all.
joining.